This is the Little Moments Count radio podcast, created in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. Each episode, you'll hear interviews with early childhood experts on how to support the important brain development that takes place in the first 1,000 days of life, just through little moments every day. Learn more at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.
FM 89.9 KMOJ, and letting you know that this afternoon's episode of the Afternoon Drive is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count. Now, Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focusing on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of one's life. Nearly 80% of the brain's growth happens in the first 1,000 days of a small moments of interaction, and we're talking about playing, we're talking reading, we're talking singing, and that just helps to create that path when it comes to that brain and that movement that elevates between it. If you'd like more information, you can visit at littlemomentscount.org. Now on the phone line, I got Mr. Andre Dukes. Now he is the Vice President of Family and Community Impact at Northside Achievement Zone. But even beyond that, when it comes with strategies, when it comes to early childhood and focusing on making sure that the scholars do what they do as they grow up and develop within those early stages. Good afternoon, Mr. Andre Dukes. How you feeling, sir?
Good afternoon, Q Bear. I am blessed by the best, and it is a good day on the north side.
No doubt, no doubt. And there's a whole lot more when it comes to you being you and who you are and that you do. But let's jump directly into it and talk about it when we're talking about parent and teacher partnership in kindergarten readiness. What exactly is kindergarten readiness?
So there is really no single definition for kindergarten readiness. I think, across states and, across systems. But essentially what it is, it's about kids, knowing what they need to know when they start school. So making sure that they have the language development in place, making sure that they are able to, look at words and recite words, but also, the social emotional aspects, and that they can, socially engage with other scholars in the classroom as well. I will say that, Minnesota looks at not only, school readiness as it relates to children, but we also talk about, ready schools, ready communities, because, the reality is all of our children are ready to learn. Children are born learners and they want to learn, but are our systems ready to teach them and create an environment in which they can learn? That's the big question.
Yeah, because definitely one of the things is that learning and that learning capability. But when we're talking about, pre-K and kindergarten within itself and getting them started, what are some of the things that parents can do or need to do in order to get that readiness elevated when it comes to the youngsters and the youth at a very young age?
Absolutely. So what we really emphasize with parents is that they are the first and primary teacher in the life of their children. And so learning is really a partnership. And, parents need to see themselves as leading in that part. So it is really, their decision in terms of where their scholar is going to go to school. But, they also need to know that they have a voice and that they can partner with the teacher to make sure that their scholars are getting what they need academically, but also social and emotionally as well. And so, school environment is very big. But, one of the things that parents really need to know is that they can advocate for the needs of their children and be that voice for their children in the school.
Because when you're looking at parents, and sometimes, parents, they move a lot quicker than most people because they got to, one, go to work. Two, they got to make sure that the food and things is on the table. Three, they got to make sure the bills are paid. Four, they got to make sure that child gets up and get a routine to get started. And I'm talking about parents got things and things and things on top of things in order to get self-ready before they get the youngsters ready. But then also within the lineup of that, then you got the educators who also are waiting for those students to come to school. What are some of the things that the parents and the educators can work on directly that can help to better for that youngster to get a better understanding of where they're at and some of the things that of the expectations for them to do?
Absolutely. Well, I think that, parents can certainly start by just creating a culture of learning in the home, recognizing that the home is full of learning opportunities when you think about, counting opportunities, read labels while you're cooking. All of these things are helping children to be ready for kindergarten and building the language necessary, but also, even understanding measurements, and that is so important when you are cooking, to really help them be able to start understanding like this glass is half empty or half full and starting to really gauge, measurements. And so I think another thing that parents can do is really focus on creating just, this positive environment around learning. A lot of times, children are intimidated when they don't know certain things, but really encouraging them when they do figure things out. One of the things I always look for is that aha moment for scholars when they figure it out or they get it. I get it now. Like that aha moment, and really celebrating that moment is so important for the esteem and the confidence of scholars around learning in general. But then, setting up a school bulletin board at home is another way where they, can post things. And I know a lot of parents do this. They might put on the refrigerator the schedule for the week or big days that are coming up at the school, just so that children can begin to anticipate things. Children learn really well when they can anticipate what is coming. And so the more that we can set the home up to help them be able to see what's coming, is really helpful for them. But also, homework help. And this is, big because a lot of the curriculum that is being used is not something that we use when you and I were in school. And so parents are having to learn new skills around helping their children with homework. But being invested and having that partnership with the teacher and really, being intentional about saying, listen, I don't really understand this, but tell me how I can help my scholar, be at grade level, do good on the test, really understand how they can be an advocate for their child, is really big as well. But it is really about the communication, and knowing what is happening in the classroom and being a bridge for your scholar in terms of what's happening in the home as well.
And so when we look at it overall and we look at some of the questions that I just basically threw at you, is there anything
Mhm.
that you could think of right off the cuff that I didn't ask that you think that the listening audience should know when it comes to that little one with pre-K to kindergarten, and then also the development side of the stage of the mindset and the brain? Is there anything that I may have forgotten in between there that you want to put on the table?
Yeah, I think, the other thing is to, introduce your scholar to the school. Like I said, parents are the first and primary teacher, but they're also the experts of their children. And so, a lot of schools and a lot of parents are now creating introductory kinds of letters to introduce their scholar to the teacher so that they have a better understanding of their likes, their dislikes, the things that they are struggling with, challenges they might be having, just so that the teacher has a better understanding of how to support that scholar. Because really, there needs to be continuity of learning across home and school. And the best way to do that is through communication and offering information related to that scholar. But then not just stopping there, but following up and checking in with that teacher. Don't wait until the teacher is calling the home. You have to call the teacher and say, how is my scholar doing? How can I be helpful? What are the things that, I can do at home to reinforce the learning that is happening in the school? So we have to be a little bit proactive in those areas as well.
No doubt, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andre Dukes, and a great friend of mine as well, Brother, I want to say
Appreciate you.
thank you very much for that you do, not just in the community, but even beyond the community itself, because you're also one of them that have traveled from, right here in the United States to abroad and doing
Yes,
great
sir.
work. So keep doing what you're doing, all right?
I appreciate you. Thank you, Q Bear. And thank you, North Minneapolis.
No doubt, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mr. Andre Dukes, and representing and definitely letting you know when it comes to Little Moments Count. And if you like a recording of this production, then you can also lock in at littlemomentscount.org/podcast. Or you can learn more at Little Moments Count by visiting the website at littlemomentscount.org. It's FM 89.9 KMOJ. No doubt about it, is the People's Station.
Thanks for listening to the Little Moments Count radio podcast in partnership with community radio stations throughout Minnesota. You can find the Little Moments Count radio podcast wherever you get your podcasts and at littlemomentscount.org/podcast.